Mr. 96's Pop Reviews. My name is Mr. 96. Today marks 7 years that I've been making videos, and in those 7 years, my circumstances have drastically changed. I'm no longer a college kid trying to make wacky videos shitting on pop songs I don't like, so I've done my best to try and carve out an identity for myself in recent years. Another struggle in the last few years is the relative lack of uploads compared to my college days, but lately I've come to accept that life happens. In short, I'm gonna make what I want to make when I want to make it. So if I'm gonna spend 2 months off playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Yakuza 0, that's just how it is. But at the end of the day, I still enjoy talking about music. While I may not listen to pop as much as I used to, I still keep an eye on music trends and how they evolve. And one thing that I'm so thankful for is the fact that we finally have new songs to talk about in 2022. I swear, for half of the year, pop music was just on autopilot as so many songs from last year kept sticking around. But in checking the top 40 recently, we finally have a decent chunk of new songs from this year. Of course, Drake is going to have his regularly scheduled hits, but others like Beyonce and Lizzo have had successful returns to the charts. As for artists continuing their star momentum, 2022 has been a massive year for Harry Styles and Bad Bunny, the latter of which impresses me seeing as all of his songs are in Spanish. I could spend time talking about all these colorful new songs from flashy artists, but instead I'm going to talk about the song from the sad white boy who defined an era through his lack of flash.
Watch out, oh watch out, oh watch out, yeah.
Post Malone is someone whom I've had to come to terms with over the last half-decade. When I first heard him, I thought he was some talentless hack, but as the years went by, I eventually accepted that he did have talent and that he made some genuinely good songs. Now he's back with his first album release in 3 years, and it seems people enjoyed enough. It doesn't have the same critical praise of Hollywood's Bleeding, but at the very least, I don't see any Jack Harlow levels of backlash. So to celebrate his return to the charts, let's look at a song of his that's peaked in the top 10. What do we have?
Oh girl, I like you, I do. I wanna be a friend, go shopping in a Benz.
Okay, we're getting something a bit on the pop side. Not something he's unfamiliar with, but an interesting choice for his big comeback. When it comes to the sunnier side of Post Malone, the most obvious example is Sunflower from several years ago. Personally, I never fell in love with this song like many others did, but at the very least, I thought it was a solid tune for a great movie. When I first heard I Like You, I thought it sounded alright as it's meant to sound very pleasant, but the more I listened to it, something about it just felt off, like a part of it was missing. My initial thought was that Post Malone is known for having rather sad lyrics as well as a downbeat musical style that partially defined the late 2010s, so him singing a happy love song gave me tonal whiplash. But I don't think that's a fair critique, as artists are allowed to evolve. If Post wants to make an optimistic love song, so be it. Who am I to tell him to be a sad boy forever? But if that's the case, why do I get an odd feeling listening to this when I don't feel that way about Sunflower? While Sunflower may sound aesthetically pleasant, it's a very vibey song, so it's more meant to help you relax than to bop along to. I Like You has more of an expressive rhythm, which isn't bad in a vacuum, but feels very unlike Post Malone. From what I know, his newest album, 12 Carat Toothache, is supposed to be an evolution with a more mature Post, and while I can definitely see that with his album tracks, I Like You a Happier Song sounds completely unrelated to that subject matter and nothing like it. Who knows, maybe it actually was a song that Post wanted to make and I'm just being nitpicky. But even if that were true, I'm just gonna point out that it sounds suspiciously similar to another song that was popular a year ago.
Girl, I like you, I do. I wanna be a friend, go shopping in a Benz.
Can you stay up all night?
Seriously, once I heard the similarities, I couldn't unhear it even after trying. While Post is no stranger to pop songs, Ariana Grande is not the kind of artist he usually emulates. Whether he's trying to sound similar to her or not, he needs to exude a certain air of confidence when singing this kind of love song, and from what we know of Post Malone over the past half-decade, I just don't buy it. And this isn't me saying he's a bad artist. I'd feel the same way if The Weeknd tried to make a song like this, as that's not the kind of music they would willingly make. Funny enough, both he and The Weeknd collaborated on a song this year about bitterly moving on from an ex, yet ironically, it was the Ariana Grande sounding song that made me feel more sad for the guy. And speaking of Ariana Grande, it's almost too coincidental that a guest artist from the remix of 3435 happens to appear on the Post song as well.
Let me know when you're free, cause I've been trying to hit it out weak, babe.
Doja Cat is the kind of artist whom I never know how to feel about. She can make a few songs that end up on my best list, yet it doesn't make me any more interested in listening to her on a daily basis. I guess for so long I associated her with Dr. Luke for working on her songs, but recent comments indicate that she shares no love for the guy, so I'm not going to let him affect my thoughts on her moving forward. As for her music in general, she tends to have two modes that she performs in. She has her retro-sounding bubblegum pop side, which allows her to appear on radio despite her graphic content, but she also has her Nicki Minaj-style rap side, which can usually carry over to various styles and sounds. As far as her role in this song is concerned, I sincerely doubt this is something she was passionate about.
Get a little OT, but ain't shit new to a freak.
Doja Cat does what Doja Cat does on this song about how she wants to get freaky with the guy, and that's all dandy and good, but considering how many guest verses she's done over the past few years, the sentiment begins to ring more hollow over time. Earlier this year, Doja Cat had a social media meltdown as she was mentally done with making music. She's since indicated that it's not completely over, but regardless of how true that is, it's incredibly clear that she's not satisfied with the showbiz life. And part of that showbiz life is making or hopping on songs you don't necessarily want to make. I have no idea whether she wanted to make this song or not. She may never say, nor is she obligated to. But for my money, she and Post Malone have about as much chemistry on this song as Selena Gomez with Blackpink, which was very little and only through artistic compromise. But in the end, Doja's part doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The issue I have is that the song feels like it has no reason to exist other than to be played on radio. I've listened to some other songs on Post's new album, and while he does have some light-sounding songs in there, they still depict a man with a lot of emotional baggage. Post Malone has always been an emotionally honest person, so whether you like his music or not, you know it's coming from him. With I Like You, it sounds completely disconnected from the album, not in its music, but in its content. It's a standard pop song about how he likes some chick and she likes him too. Nothing more to it than that. Usually with these pop reviews, they tend to go on for a while as I try to equate what I hear in the song with the state of popular music or whatever, but I'm just gonna keep this nice and simple like my old style. I just think the song sucks. Even in a pop-sounding song like Circles, the lyrics were about an on and off relationship that was going nowhere, so the more relaxed vibe of the instrumental was intentionally designed to evoke that feeling of complacency. When I listen to I Like You, I expect the song to sound more exciting as it's about getting together with a hot chick, but while the music sounds bright in a sense, it also sounds disposable and exhausted. The instrumental isn't cheerful enough to bop to, but it's also not relaxing enough to vibe to. It just exists in an awkward place that doesn't fit the strength of its main artist, and the guest artist feels like an add-on brought in to give it a commercial push. So in the end, I start to think to myself, why should I care when the artists involved don't sound like they care either? For Doja Cat, I'm not sure how much longer her career will last, and she probably doesn't know either, and for Post Malone, he doesn't seem to care much about pop success anymore, so this song being the one to hit the top 10 says a lot about its authenticity. With this being my 7th pop anniversary, I'm gonna give a rating on the 96 scale, but consider this a send-off for my score ratings. Honestly, I'm sort of done with giving things a numerical score because music is a subjective medium, and opinions are bound to change over time, whether it be 1 year or 10 years. Plus, my last video on Jack Harlow had me giving First Class an 8 out of 10, and let's just say I'm already regretting it. I still plan to use the 96 scale in my year-end top 10 list, but those are different since my opinions are a bit more solidified after a year. Even then, those opinions won't last forever, but what will? As for individual song reviews, I'm likely not going to use the 96 scale in my pop reviews anymore. Opinions can't be summarized by a single number, especially when I've only heard a song for a few weeks. Who knows, maybe my opinion for this song will change in a few months. I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll just have to see. Thanks for sticking with me for the past 7 years, and I want to give massive thanks to my patrons on Patreon for all their support. For just $1 per video, you can join my patron-only Discord server where we chat and chill, and at $2 per video, you get to vote on what songs I review for my series 2000's Childhood Pop. At $5 per video, you get to be listed in my Names of Fame, and at $10 per video, you get a personal shout through the heart along with Jason Semler and Prideful Zella. Once again, I'm Mr. 96. If you want to see more pop reviews, click the subscribe button below and tap that bell to be notified when I drop a new episode. I was originally supposed to release an episode of 2000's Childhood Pop about a month ago, but it's honestly been difficult trying to write an analysis for the song in question. Anyways, that video's definitely at the top of my priority list now, so I'll try my best to get it within a reasonable time period. Pop songs may come in numbers, but there's only one. 96.
너의 그 말, 그 잔인한 말, 가슴 아픈 말, 칼날 같은 말. 너의 그 말, 그 잔인한 말, 날 울리는 말, 날 죽이는 말. Everybody breaking, breaking, breaking.